establish a quorum. Dr. Joseph will be here in just a moment, and so will my colleague, Dr. Gentry. If I could get Sue Kessler to come up and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will start with 30 seconds in my district, and Ms. Froh.
So last week I got to go on a fun field trip with my son and the H.G. Hill Middle students to the Country Music Hall of Fame. And Pennington Bend Elementary and Ruby Major Elementary students also attended. And we heard a band called Riders in the Sky, which was formed in 1977. I had no idea what to expect, but they were fabulous. And they played country western music. They incorporated a little history in their performance. So they talked about cowboys in the Old West and the meanings of some of these old songs. They taught the children about the instruments they were playing, and they taught the kids how to yodel. So, and my father, who is 84, said it reminded him of Saturday afternoon movies growing up in the 1940s when he went to Roy Rogers films. And the highlight for the kids was the band played a song that was featured in Toy Story 2. And they all knew that song. So it was a really great experience, and it's just wonderful that we have these opportunities in Music City for our children to learn more about music.
Thank you, Ms. Shepherd. On Saturday this week, there will be food distribution at Maplewood High School. That's Saturday, February 17th. It's called A Grocery Cart Full of Food. And Maplewood High School is located at 401 Walton Lane, and it begins at 10 o'clock. First come, first serve. Thank you.
Yes, the Cambridge Early Learning Center began introducing students to their Waterford technology. They have 4 laptop computers, and so those kids there have began learning to sign on, use the mouse, and they're going to be taking their ELA assessments on it. They're also having a family fitness night on February the 16th, where there will be Zumba, drumming, and capoeira. In addition, the Cambridge Elementary School participated in an on-site federal program monitoring, and they did very well. And that is all for now.
Ms. Pierce?
Thank you. Last week I had the privilege of being a guest reader at Julia Green's readathon, and so read to some third graders who had just amazing questions and insights, and it's just a great event that the parents and faculty put on for these kids. And then also, if you are been by Hillsborough High School recently, you will definitely see that construction is taking place. It's very exciting. So we thank you to all the team working there, and we'll be communicating to neighbors soon about all the changes that will be coming up to impact them. But this is such an exciting project.
Ms. Buggs?
I had the pleasure of joining Board Chair Anna Shepherd last week at Pearl-Cohn High School. We took a tour and we're just really impressed, as always, with Dr. Stewart and her staff, and of course the wonderful students at Pearl-Cohn. I appreciate how deliberate she's been just dealing with her budget and focusing on social emotional learning. You can definitely tell that community is now more bought into the school. You can tell that every adult in the school has bought into what's happening there, and I love it. So good job, Dr. Stewart and Pearl-Cohn Entertainment Magnet High School. And I'm not sure if it's because of gerrymandering or what, but I have Envision Napier, Envision Casey, and Envision Edge Hill all working right now. And it's really exciting to see resources being poured into those communities, but I urge community members to be a part of the conversations. I will be sure to let you all know when there are more community meetings happening, but every community meeting is open to the public. They even have an educators group that is specifically built around not just after-school tutoring, not just supporting MNPS or getting support from MNPS, but also working with the day-to-day resources that will be flooded into that into those 3 communities to make sure that there are adult literacy classes, to make sure that pre-K is potentially an option, and just all the other things that education means to Nashville. So Envision Napier, Envision Casey, Envision Edge Hill. If you are interested, please feel free to email me at cbugs@mnps.org so I can connect you with Ms. Janet King from MDHA. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Buggs. I had the pleasure of being contacted by Congressman Cooper's office to speak to the students, the seniors specifically, at McGavock High School, along with my state representative, Darren Jernigan, and we spoke to them about the importance of not just registering to vote, but exercising their right and duty to vote. We had some really good questions by the students after we did our little speech, and most of them, surprisingly, were directed towards me as to what I do as a school board member, which I thought was really interesting. And one young man said, there's always one in every crowd. One young man said, so if you don't agree on a budget, does that mean you close the schools? I said, no, you're going to school. So we will move on to the good news is our students, and we had student ambassadors from Hillsborough and Hunters Lane. If I could get the ones from Hillsborough to come forward, please.
Hello, my name is Joshua West. I'm a senior at Hillsborough High School, and I'm in the Academy of Global Health and Science. I'm also in the Interdisciplinary Science and Research pathway, and I really like this pathway because it allows me to get sort of an in-depth sample of different areas in science, and that has helped me decide what I would like to do as I go on. It also gave me an amazing opportunity to get an internship at Vanderbilt over the summer. It was a 6-week internship, and I was able to explore computer science a little more heavily. I got to help design an augmented reality program that helps teach physics for high school students. And I also love my pathway because I'm doing it in correlation with the IB career-related program, so I'm able to take rigorous classes and also get really in-depth science and research experience. That's what I really like about my pathway.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Ariel Lipscomb. I'm also a Hillsborough High School student, and my academy is the U.S. Community Credit Union Academy of International Business and Communications. Very long name. And my pathway is specifically the audiovisual production program. And so that class gives me a lot of creativity because that's what I need to express myself is a lot of creativity. So through that class, we do news, and I love doing the news because I get to read a script and be very professional on camera. And we also do a lot of creative projects in groups. So my favorite creative project was with a music video, and the song that we had was Zombies by Childish Gambino. And since I have an entrepreneurship experience with makeup, I got to do makeup for the video shoot. So I was able to turn one of the crew members into a zombie for the video. And I am also in the IB career program, and I take IB biology and IB math studies. And with that IB biology class, I am able to carry that on to college because I would like to study zoology along with pre-veterinary. And with the audiovisual pathway, I would like to use that for my computer science minor. Thank you.
Thank you both. Very good. Can we hear from the ambassadors from Hunters Lane?
Hello, my name is Jacob Fawcett. I'm a Hunters Lane ambassador in the Design and Tech Academy. I'm in the technology pathway, and this pathway has helped me not only make cool stuff like Harold here, but also get an internship with Nissan and apply for scholarships from Toyota and Nissan. Sorry. Last year, I was able to do dual credit programming, which the teachers there supported me, and they're the ones who, they're the ones who, they're the ones who motivated me to do better and do things in school like this and my other projects I've worked on. I've also, last year, been elected Student of the Year, so that helped me pay for this because I did get a $100 prize. very much. That's all right, you go up.
Wait a minute, Jacob, did you bring something with you that you made?
Yes, right.
Can you show it to us? Oh, okay. All right. Oh, okay. Very good.
You can see it. Yeah, bring it through the gate.
Oh, my. Pretty impressive.
I like his colors.
It does have a camera. I made them for our school bookstore since our teachers had a problem with skipping class and coming down for a planning period. So what I decided to do was make this so I can take it to them. With this camera, I can operate it wirelessly from our bookstore.
And you made that?
I did.
Wow.
And it's been 3 months.
I can't even do my remote. That's very good, Jacob.
Hello, my name is Desiree Casilla. I'm a senior at Hunters Lane High School, and I'm a part of the Health and Human Services that we provide. I am a part of the therapeutic service from the Health and Human Services. So over my last year at Hunters Lane, I've been a part of our St. Thomas Health Scholarship that we have, and basically we've been taking classes with a lady from St. Thomas, and March 19th, I believe, I'll be taking my CCMA. So I'll be certified as a medical assistant if I pass the test.
When?
And then I can get a job at St. Thomas or any other hospital as a medical assistant. Also, I've been doing HOSA, which is the health kind of like students of tomorrow thing. And with that, I just competed for medical assisting, and I got third in my division. And so I'll be going to state at the end of March. Being in the Health and Human Services has allowed me to learn so much about my career that I plan on doing. It's allowed me to find a school that I want to go to next year that provides a good nursing program so that I'll be going to school and I'll have a job and I'll just already be ahead of and where I want to be.
That is amazing. Aren't our students amazing, our student ambassadors? Thank you both. Thank you. We will move on to public participation, our community. Oh, I'm sorry. I failed. We were supposed to have Meg's Middle Magnet perform tonight, but the teacher has the flu, which is rampant, unfortunately. So we do have Schwab Elementary artwork, and I do believe my colleague, Ms. Buggs, is going to speak to that.
Fourth grade art students at Schwab worked collaboratively to create this colorful mural of civil rights leader Rosa Parks after studying famous African Americans. Each was responsible for creating 2 pieces of the work and had to match colors and patterns to make the pieces fit with each other. Their art teacher is Miss Lindsay Mayfield. Please give a round of applause to our Schwab artists.
Thank you, Ms. Buggs. Now we'll move on to public participation in our community. The board will hear from those persons who have requested to appear at this board meeting. In the interest of time, speakers are requested to limit remarks to 3 minutes or less, and comments will be timed. If you'll look on the screen, you can see your name, and the first person up there is Eliza Ramage.
Good afternoon, school board members. I'm Liza Ramage.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. And I live at 1400 Rosa L. Parks Boulevard. I'm here today representing NOAA, Nashville Organized for Action and Hope. NOAA is committed to ending the racial disparities in discipline in the Nashville schools. My buddy Byron is going to be here and talk some more about the problem. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what NOAA has been doing. In October, NOAA's annual meeting, there were 1,800 people in attendance. And in front of these people, MNPS agreed to involve NOAA in the planning and implementation of social emotional learning and positive discipline programs in MNPS. This is a good thing. In November, NOAA held 4 public meetings, one in each quadrant of the school system. And the purpose of these meetings was to disseminate the information about the racial disparities and begin to talk about the solutions. From these meetings, 300 people signed up to help NOAA work with you, the school board, and the Metro Council to increase funding in the school budget for these positive discipline programs and social emotional learning. Last month, in January, NOAA had a successful press conference here on the front steps of the Board of Education, receiving good TV, radio, and newspaper coverage. This press conference was held to share information with the community at large about the problem, the consequences of the problem, and the solutions. These positive social emotional learning programs are known and effective. There are even a few metro schools which have seen remarkable change with their commitment to full implementation of these programs. Positive discipline methods decrease discipline referrals, and then school climate improves. When school climate improves, learning increases and test scores rise. So it's really a win-win situation for everybody. It's important change, but it requires training and support. NOAA is asking you to commit to including sufficient funding in the 2018-2019 school budget for trainers, training, and SEL resources for this important and beneficial initiative. Thank you in advance for your commitment to this transformative initiative.
Mr. Mott. Byron Harvey. I guess that's who that is.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just thankful I don't have the flu.
Really?
Good evening. My name is Byron Harvey. I am the Director of Youth for a Peaceful Community, and I stand here representing NOAA, Nashville Organized for Action and Hope. I serve on the NOAA Criminal Justice Task Force, of which I am a part of the School Discipline Subcommittee. For some time, as Liza was saying, we have shared our concern for the racial disparities in school discipline in Metro Nashville public schools. It has been stated on numbers of occasions that African Americans make up 40% of our students, yet there are 75% of those expelled or suspended from school. Nationwide, it is known that suspensions and expulsions lead to adult and juvenile incarceration. This board, Dr. Joseph, our mayor, our juvenile judge, has all supported the cause of dealing with this issue. This school board stepped up to the plate by approving up to 4 positions to train schools and staffs on better ways to discipline by using restorative practices and social emotional learning. So for that, we want to say thank you so much. You deserve much gratitude. While we are grateful, we're far from meeting the goals that we need to reach. It's times like these where we need more trainers in our schools and in our system. There are 116 schools, including our charter schools, and there's over 80,000 students in Metro, but we have only 4 trainers. We need more money for trainers. As a former school employee, one of the greatest joys I received is from that student who I see later in life who had a chance to overcome obstacles and become successful. The most heartbreaking thing is the one who maybe could have made it but he winded up incarcerated, or maybe something even more tragic. Restorative practices and social emotional learning provide hope for the young people that we serve and the young people that we love. Our students are the reason that we are here. They are our hope for tomorrow. Please remember that hope when you plan your budget for this school year. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Thank
Yes,
you.
I'm sorry.
No, I just said thank you.
All right, good to see you.
Thank you. Who?
Hello, my name is Eric Huth. I'm president of the Metropolitan Nashville Education Association. Thank you so much, Ms. Shepard, Dr. Joseph, members of the board, for allowing me this time to come and speak to you on behalf of our members and employees in the district. As you probably know, in the director's report, there is an item listed as MOUs for MNEA, steelworkers, and SEIU. I'm not really familiar with what the steelworkers and the SEIU have come up with and what their experiences are, but I did want to kind of go back and refresh your memories on what has transpired on our memorandum of understanding with teachers. And the process actually started last January after we had the vote certifying the certification election. And we started in January, and the process drug out all the way through October. We first started to try to meet after school in very short periods of time, and that didn't work very well. But once the summer hit, we started meeting during pretty much full day sessions, and that continued through the fall till we completed in October. Unfortunately, nothing came forward to the administration through the Human Resources Department to the chiefs and to you until after some reminding took place, and there was apparently some sticking point with how the information was translated to the to your legal department. But that all cleared. We got it finished, finalized, and there are 2 items in there that are, or 3 items actually, related to compensation that are monetary issues. One is a 5% raise for recommendation of that to the compensation committee for this year and next year. The other is a $45 per hour rate for exception pay. That's those hours that teachers do after school on an hour-by-hour basis as required, as requested by the school. And the other one is the rate of pay for professional development. Teachers strongly believe that they're worth every bit of that $45. Some people make more than that on an hourly basis, but not too many. And as it relates to the daily pay for the individual for professional development, we believe strongly that if professional development is important to the district, you should pay a professional wage to the employee and not try to do that on a bargain basement basis. So we really want you to consider that. We know the district is woefully underfunded for, as exhibited by what both Liza and Byron mentioned earlier, and these compensation issues. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Huth. We will move on to our governance issues, starting with the consent agenda. Ms. Spearing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are going to pull HI, Amplify Education, for discussion, and defer J, legal settlement claim L15-840 for $30,000 until a later date. The consent agenda reads as follows. Approval of minutes of the regular meetings on November the 14th and November the 28th, 2017. B, recommended award of contract for architectural services, renovations of Glen Enhanced Option Elementary School for Merle School. Gould Turner Group. C, recommended award of contract for civil and landscaping services at various schools, Catalyst Design Group. D, recommended approval of request number 1 for Hillsborough High School additions and renovations, Beaver Engineering, Inc. E, recommended approval of request number 4 for purchase of auditorium seating at Hunters Lane High School, CDS Systems, Inc. F, recommended approval of lease agreement for Hermitage Church of Christ for use of the auditorium at DuPont Tyler Middle School. G, recommended approval of declare portable buildings at various schools as surplus. H, awarding of purchases and contracts. We're skipping 1, going to 2, CDW Government, Inc. 3, Central States Bus Sales, Inc. 4, Howard Technologies. 5, Warner Music Nashville, LLC. And I, legal settlement claim number C-35382 for $20,000. Madam Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Okay, we're going to vote on this by show of hands tonight. So all approved? Okay, any noes? All right, so the consent agenda passes modified. And now we're going to discuss the Amplify Education, Inc.
Yeah, I have some questions. Dr. Joseph, you can answer this or have someone answer it. How many schools are in the CKLA pilot?
Yeah. I'm going to ask Dr. Felder to come up.
Sure.
There are 5.
Okay. And did those 5 begin in the fall?
They began, trying to think exactly when they began. No, not in the fall. I would say it was more around winter break, either just before or just after winter break.
Okay. So we don't have any MAP scores on these schools? None of them started in the fall?
No, none of them implemented CKLA in the fall.
Okay. So we don't have any culture survey either? We don't have any, we have no data. That's correct. No culture survey?
Yeah, I'll come in. Remember, I guess it was about 2 board meetings ago, we had, when we did a presentation on our pilots,
yes.
We had, I believe it was 2 different schools come up, and they talked about their enthusiastic support of the materials. If I'm not mistaken, it was Napier Elementary School, and it was Churchwell.
And Cumberland chimed in on that as well.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. But we don't really have any data. We've had some enthusiasm, but we don't really have any data. At this point, it's too early.
That's correct. There's no specific data on the implementation. We do have feedback on the implementation as we've been working with TNTP and with our own internal staff to go in, and implementation data we could gather, but actual achievement data, no, it's too soon.
Mm-hmm. And this particular contract is for Buena Vista, for 2 different classrooms, is that correct?
I believe so.
And I'm just trying to understand, I know teachers have given us feedback that it's very difficult when they're getting new initiatives in the middle of the year. And we're in February, this probably wouldn't get until March. I'm just wondering, is this something we could wait and get next year or at the end of this school year so that we're not putting more on teachers at this point?
Well, I could let Dr. Velder ask, but a lot of these requests are coming from schools and teachers with this particular work, as there's been a lot of enthusiasm about the CKLA because of the way it is organized and in the way it is packaged for implementation. It is aligned to our standards, and some of the feedback that we've gotten that we hear loud and clearly from our teachers is that the planning work that is required is extensive. And it's one of the reasons we have been working with the state to try to get more time, and we're trying to find more time within our schedules. But this particular material is packaged in a way that is very teacher-friendly. I mean, I think universally, if you were to survey teachers that are using the materials, they'll tell you, thank you, that it's organized and it's clear, so they don't have to spend as much time with the preparing and planning for the lesson. They spend more time thinking about the execution of the lesson. But when we look at Buena Vista, there are, it's one of our priority schools. It's a school that needs to make gains immediately. They've been working hard, but this is an option for us to bring those materials to them to help with some of the planning and support. But typically, I would never recommend just bringing something in mid-year. Universally, in the schools that have implemented after the year has started, there have been, you would have had teachers lining up in droves in Metro Nashville Public Schools had there been implementation challenges with this, but we've been very mindful and methodical about the supports that have been put in place. And in terms of implementation, there has been pretty seamless satisfaction. Still hard work, but we've been very thoughtful, knowing that the timing has been a challenge.
If I could just add that the materials, so the CKLA is already up and underway at the school. The request is for just additional materials, so additional materials were needed, but they're already implementing.
Okay. Dr. Joseph and I visited a CKLA school at Churchwell, and there's clearly some good things about it. The one thing that really concerns me as an educator is the decodable text. And the Tennessee literacy, teaching literacy in Tennessee document that the state has written is for a balance of interactive read aloud, shared reading, small group reading, teaching foundational skills such as word study, along with specific scope and sequence and independent reading. And what I understand is that core knowledge is only addressing one part of that, which is the interactive read aloud. But I know we have some other, like Literacy Partnership, that is also bringing in these other balanced literacy segments or parts of balanced literacy. So it's, one curriculum probably cannot do it all. But I do have real concerns about asking emergent readers to read a text that is stripped of meaning and structure. So that's just my concern for the materials.
Yeah, I think when you look at CKLA as a whole, the materials are very rich, as you saw. They do have a component with the foundational skills, and I think most would argue now, as we look at balanced literacy, and it's consistent with the state's recommendation that we really strengthen the foundational knowledge that children are learning, that teaching and having phonics as a part, not the entire piece, is essential. I do think that if we were just teaching phonics, I would wholeheartedly agree with you that kids need to make meaning. But the foundational work that CKLA provides is strong. You look around the nation and you will find most large districts and most pretty progressive districts right now are embracing and adopting CKLA for a number of reasons. One, because of the foundational piece, and two, because of the appropriate text and the challenge that it gives and the interest that's provided with it. But it is not, and if you look at Ed Reports, which did a study to look at those texts which are aligned to our new rigorous standards, you will see CKLA is identified as one of the exemplary recommendations that districts should consider. So again, we've not moved away from a balanced approach, but we are making sure that there is balance, particularly with the foundational skills. Children who come to our schools with deficits in language, particularly phonemic awareness, do need a strong systemic approach to build. Again, they should be engaged with authentic text as well, but we feel that these materials, and again, we're piloting so we can gather that information. We need to make sure that we put in front of our kids the best quality materials available, and we feel strong about what's happening with CKLA in those schools, and I think we're getting universal positive feedback, and we're going to continue to look at the results as we go through. But again, the whole district is still continuing with what we have been doing with modifications to bring in more of a foundational approach. I mean, I think very shortly you're going to be hearing about our literacy plan more extensively, and you'll see that our plan is directly aligned with what the state has been recommending with what should be happening across the district and across the state. And in addition, we're aligning to what many national experts say as we look at the standards of 2018, we're on target with this new level of expectation. Tonight you're going to be hearing about integrated math, which again speaks to the new demands that we have within not only the state but the nation to make sure that our kids are ready for 21st century learning. So we're excited to give our kids this opportunity and to see how they do because we've got to prepare them for this new world in which we live.
Is it true that students are, if they are not able to read their decodable text, they do not get to go to a authentic text and guided reading until they're able to read the decodable text?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay, I attended a session this summer, or actually in the fall, and I understood them to say that. So,
I'll let Dr. Felder. I just like jumping in because I had a reading background, so I can't help myself sometimes. But we want kids to clearly have the foundational skills that are needed. We don't want to exclude them from authentic text. That's sort of like a student who doesn't have multiplication skills. If they don't master them, we say you can't move on to look at algebraic expressions. We can accommodate for that, but we have to expose them to it and not just stop them. So if that is a practice that is occurring, we can correct that, and we would say we don't expect that. We do expect them to get the foundational experiences and skills, but we do want them also to be engaged in text because that's important. Because, as you know, kids' hearing capacity can exceed their ability to comprehend, and we want to really teach the reasoning and the background information, and sometimes they won't get that if they're only exposed to the phonemic awareness. So, it is our goal, even if they can't read it, to expand their hearing capacity and to help them reason and communicate in a way, because once the phonemic skills build up, they'll be able to be engaged in grade level text. So there's that balance of we want to make sure students are experiencing grade level text, but we also recognize students also need to be comfortable with instructional level text and text that they can read. So there's that balance of both. And as we're pushing with what we call Balanced Literacy 2.0, that's the intended goal. Now, the implementation can vary because we've got to make sure we're training. And this is where we're continuing to work to make sure teachers understand the messaging and we're executing on that. And we can reinforce that message if you're hearing something different.
Thank you. Yeah, my major concern is that the decodable text, which I've read before on the board floor, that is stripped of meaning and structure. And in my background of teaching children to read at kindergarten and first grade level for 35 years, I've never seen a child that actually needed a text that was stripped of meaning and structure. So that is my major concern with the decodable text.
We understand. I mean, I went to the Johns Hopkins University, and in the reading program there, we did. They did have you focus on breaking words down, putting them together. I mean, there's some benefit to wordplay, and there's some benefit to students learning how to bring different chunks together just to build the capacity. Now, again, the goal is ultimately comprehension, and we always want to strive towards comprehension. But having students with wordplay is not always bad practice. Too much of anything is bad, and if you're not getting them to the ultimate goal of comprehension, I would agree it's the wrong method. But my experiences in the methodology, at least I was taught in, and again, you have the language. The language battles have gone on for generations, and they'll continue to go on. I think ultimately, we want more than 3 out of 4 kids reading on grade level here. And I think we need to explore all options and all opportunities to see what works, because what works for some kids don't work for others. I think you need to look at what you're doing, look at the individual child's needs, and make adjustments based upon those individual children's needs. For some children, the phonics approach and working with phonics well with everything else is good. For others, don't need phonics at all, the whole language piece, they'll get it. You teach them in meaning, how to pull words together, lots of different approaches. And I think we ought to be teaching multiple approaches, but giving kids the strong foundational skills, we believe is the right thing to do.
I agree. Foundational skills are vital, and I just believe that we can do all of that within a meaningful text.
Yep.
But thank you for the discussion.
Anybody else have any questions or anything? Dr. Felder, if I understood you correctly earlier, you said that this was just for additional materials, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, for two classrooms, or?
I believe it's 2 classrooms,
okay.
yeah. A couple of classrooms need additional
Okay,
materials.
all right, thank you. So we would entertain a motion to vote on the awarding of purchases and contracts for Amplify Education, Inc.
I move we approve the awarding of purchases and contracts for item H1, Amplify Education, Inc.
Can I get a second? Okay, we'll also do a vote of hands, show of hands on this one as well. To all in favor? And all disapprove, we have 1, okay? Thank you. We will move on to our reports, our organization. Dr. Joseph.
We missed the student appeal.
Pardon me?
Student appeal.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought that was off the table. Ms. Harkey? Oh, okay, I misunderstood.
Yeah, you have received packet. This is a student discipline appeal. I'll just very briefly remind you of the process and kind of what your role is today. This is a student who was expelled from their school of zone. They have appealed that decision within the appropriate time frame for a level 1. It went before the Discipline Review Board, which is made up of 3 members, I think mainly retired administrators. They heard the appeal at the level 1. The parent appealed it again within time frames, did not agree with the decision there, appealed it, and it went to a level 2. The level 2 happens before our executive director of discipline, I think is the title. This appeal was heard before that level 2. Again, the parent was not satisfied with what came from the level 2, and so now this is a level 3 student discipline appeal hearing to the board pursuant to our policy and procedure. I will say, or kind of to remind you, pursuant to the code, what is before you tonight is pursuant to TCA 49-634-01, that based on a review of the record, the Board of Education may grant or deny the request for a hearing and may affirm or overturn the decision with or without a hearing, provided that the board may not impose a more severe penalty without an opportunity for a hearing. So this is our first step. This is the first time it's been on the agenda. And so really, we're looking from the board to know whether you would like to grant or deny a hearing. Usually if you then deny the hearing, there would be a potential for a vote to affirm, uphold, overturn, whatever's happened at the level 2 appeal hearing. So that is where we are. If you'll have any other questions, I will entertain them.
So our options are to grant, to make a motion to grant an appeal, to deny appeal, and to affirm the decision.
To affirm, overturn the decision. I mean, really, everything's on the table. I'd say your first question is, do you want to grant or deny a hearing?
And a motion?
I move that we have a hearing for this student appeal.
Do I have a second? We have a motion and a second. We can now use our iPads according to what Ms. Bobo told me. So please vote.
Do we need discussion? for
Oh,
this
we
at all?
can. Does anybody
I
else?
would just like to appeal to my colleagues that, as always, this is what I think we are here for, even if we end up upholding whatever the decision is. I think whenever you're talking about sending a student to an alternative learning center, especially if you have not visited one of our alternative learning centers lately, they are doing great things but are beginning to get overcrowded. I think we can carve out an hour of time to listen to this child's appeal, because at the end of the day, he is still one of our children. We have meetings for a little bit of everything else, so I would just appeal that you grant him this wish.
The motion to grant an appeal for the student has passed with all yeses and one no.
Here, I'll work with Cameo. We'll schedule the appeal hearing, and it will occur usually after a future meeting.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Harkey. Now we'll go on to our Director's report, Dr. Joseph.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. So as we have shared, the world has changed in education in the past 9 years, and we have new standards in both reading and math in Tennessee. And again, I continue to stress that we have some of the highest standards in the country now, and as such, our approaches to our work must change to meet those new demands. And one of those changes that we embarked upon a few years ago was shifting from more traditional math subject areas to a new math that we are calling integrated math. And so tonight we want to talk with you and the community about what is this integrated math and how is it similar and different from the math that we grew up knowing how to do. And so we have Dr. Felder along with her team here to provide a report and an update on where we are with the implementation. And through the conversation, we'll talk about where we feel there are some successes. We'll also talk about challenges, and we'll talk about how you as a board can help us as we think through these challenges. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Felder.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. So good evening, everyone. As Dr. Joseph said, tonight we're going to provide you with information and an update on integrated math, which rolled out in the district in 2016. You have been provided with a folder, looks like this, and in that folder, I just want to review the materials that you have. And so you should have a packet looks like this, of the full slides for tonight's PowerPoint deck. Also in your folder, you have another packet, and this packet contains information on, more detailed information on the history of integrated math, professional development related to integrated math, as well as an integrated math FAQ. So you have that in your packet. And last but not least, in your packet, you also have a one-sheeter that is a capture sheet. And so we ask that you use this to capture any notes or questions that you have, because we'd ask if you could hold those questions until the end of the presentation. Of course, if you have any burning, clarifying questions, we will certainly entertain them, but we would prefer to get through the entire presentation before entertaining questions. And so with that, I'd like to introduce to all of you Jessica Slayton, soon to be Dr. Jessica Slayton. Yep, she's real close. Yep, that deserves a round of applause. But Jessica is the director for mathematics in the district, pre-K to 12. And so Jessica's going to take you through this presentation. Jessica?
Do you want to go over the outcomes also?
Yes. Oh, that's right. I was moving too quickly here. So outcomes was my part. So we have 5 outcomes that we want to accomplish tonight, and they're listed here. First is by the end of this presentation, we will have reviewed the definition of mathematics, provided its rationale, and touch on the history a bit. Again, you have more details of the history in your packet. You would have heard about support provided to teachers, so the PD to build their capacity. We're going to touch on that a bit, but you have more detail again in your packet. And as Dr. Joseph said, you would have heard about the successes and challenges with implementation. You're also going to have an opportunity to hear from 1 or 2 teachers who are implementing integrated math. And as I said, we promise we will open the floor for questions and answers at the end. So these are our outcomes. Any questions about the outcomes before I turn it over to Jessica? All right, so we're good? Jessica, all right.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to talk to you about one of my passions, which is integrated math. As we start the conversation, I think it's really important that we have a shared definition of what integrated math actually is. I like to think of integrated math as a tapestry that weaves together the different branches of mathematics to make a cohesive picture of what mathematics actually is. Typically, the topics that are woven together, that would be algebra, geometry, statistics, and trigonometry. It is really important to note that the standards that are used in integrated mathematics are the exact same standards that are used in the traditional Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2 pathway, but they're organized differently across the 3 years. So as you see this picture, you may think, what does this have to do with mathematics? We had a really beautiful integrated math experience last week at the Curriculum and Instruction Update meeting for mathematics, and I wanted to share that with you because I think it paints a beautiful picture of integrated math. So we asked the participants to engage in a task about the Supreme Court, and we displayed this picture and asked them to list things they knew about the Supreme Court. And the participants at the Curriculum and Instruction Update meeting for math, they're very diverse in background. We have administrators, deans of instruction, instructional coaches, and even teachers. So they came up with a really long list of things they knew about the Supreme Court. And then we shared an item with them. And I don't know if you know this or not, but when the Supreme Court gets together, they have some rituals or routines that they engage in every time they're together. And one is that every member of the Supreme Court shakes hands with each of the other members. And it's a way that they show that they're united in their aims, even if their viewpoints differ. So we posed these 2 questions to the participants. If each justice shakes hands exactly once with each of the other justices, how many handshakes take place? And how can you determine the number of handshakes for a group that's too large to model? So I have some samples of work that the participants created. And I'd like to start with the one on the left. So this first group, they drew 9 dots, each one representing one of the Supreme Court justices. And they decided to connect the dots with lines, and each line represented a handshake. So when they started at the top, they connected all of the dots and came up with 8 lines. And then proceeding around to the right, when they connected the next dot, they counted 7 lines because the first and second dot had already been connected and counted. And they proceeded around the circle and came up with the addition problem that's at the top there with a sum of 36 handshakes. So another group presented, that's the information there on the right, and they said, oh, we did a similar thing, but we organized it as a table, and each check mark represents a handshake. And they actually wrote 2 equations, one that's numerical that determines the number of handshakes that the Supreme Court would have, which is 36. It matches the other group's answer. But they also wrote the algebraic expression n times n minus 1 all over 2. And there were some questions in the room, like, where did that come from? How did you know that's what it was? And then a third group got up. And their representation is actually very similar to the second one, except they used little hands to represent the handshakes instead of check marks. But their equation looks very different because they saw it as a triangle. And they said, well, we know the area of a triangle, that's 1/2 base times height. So looking here, our base is 9, our height is 8. We can calculate and come up with 36. And so then questions in the room, how does that connect? They said, oh, well, 9 is the number of justices. It's the number you start with, n. And 8, well, that's because you can't shake hands with yourself. So each person only engages in 8 handshakes, right? So that's the n minus 1. And then it's divided by 2 because, well, you don't want to double count a handshake. If I shake your hand and you shake my hand, that's the same handshake. So that's why divided by 2. And it was this beautiful moment where different branches of mathematics came together so that everyone could make sense of the situation. And that is the heart of integrated math. Integrated math is about solving problems using what you know from all branches of mathematics. The traditional pathway tends to silo topics. And so it gives the impression that problem solving is nice and neat and easily categorized. But we all know that that's not how problems, how we face them in life, right? We don't get a little category or a label like, this is the skill set you should use to solve this problem. We actually have to draw on our entire knowledge base and figure out what we know, what we need to know, what's important and what's not, in order to solve the challenges or overcome the challenges that we face in life. And that is the heart of integrated mathematics. So for me, the most compelling reason to utilize integrated mathematics is that it allows for a more cohesive treatment of mathematics, as demonstrated by that example. It's also consistent with, and it continues the organization of mathematics in kindergarten through 8th grade. You have this visual in your packet, and if you notice here, each different color represents a different strand of mathematics. Between kindergarten and 8th grade, all 4 colors are represented each of those years. With integrated math, that continues through the first 3 years of high school as well. So every strand of mathematics is addressed each year. With the traditional pathway, the green row, geometry, would be completely eliminated from 9th grade and 11th grade. And the other 3, the orange, blue, and red, would be completely eliminated from 10th grade. So it's a disjointed way of addressing the topics instead of the cohesive way that integrated math addresses them. A few more compelling reasons. Integrated math is commonly implemented internationally among the highest performing nations in the world. Japan, Singapore, many of the nations that outperform the US on both the TIMSS and the PISA assessment. Common Core opened the doorway for integrated math in 2010, giving 2 high school pathways. And our revised Tennessee standards also allow for both of those pathways. And then something that I think is really important and means a lot to me, the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics stepped forward in 2011 and said, not only are there 2 viable pathways, we believe that integrated math is better for teaching our students. They endorsed it as the better of the two pathways for high school mathematics. We do also have some research support. So the Journal for Research in Mathematics Education, they published a study in 2013. There were more than 3,000 students across 5 states who were in the study, and they used the grade 10 assessment to compare the performance of the students. And they found that the integrated math students significantly outscored the students who were in the traditional pathway. They also found that the integrated teachers were more likely to use technology in their classrooms, and they incorporated more collaborative structures.
Spoken like a true doctoral candidate.
So also in 2017, our TN Ready data. So looking at that, the Department of Ed shared that when they compared the performance on the two pathways, the performance of the algebraic and statistical standards were comparable. But when they looked at the performance on the geometry standards, the integrated math students outperformed the students who were actually enrolled in a geometry class. And they thought that that was interesting and have shared that in meetings around the state. Thinking about the implementation in our district specifically, Dr. Felder mentioned that you have a supplemental handout. So the supplemental handout, the first page of that has information delineated by year, talks about the implementation and our transition to integrated math. There are 3 things that I do want to pull out specifically to mention to you. We were awarded a math and science partnership grant during the 2014-15 school year, and that was to provide support and also materials for the teachers as we transition to integrated math. That year in the spring, we also held 6 parent and community information sessions all around the city to help explain what integrated math was and provide the rationale for the transition. And then starting in the summer of 2015, we have been offering a 10-day professional development session for teachers, offered both in June and July. So they can come, learn about the standards, interact with the content, and learn some pedagogical strategies that would be appropriate to use in integrated math. I want to talk a little bit more about that 10-day professional development. The second page of that handout gives you information about 4 different professional development opportunities that are available to our high school math teachers. But the Integrated Math Summer Institute is different than most PD sessions because it is so long, because we have people coming together from so many different schools. It's really a unique experience. It has 2 focal areas, both content and pedagogy, so they're balanced within the 10 days. The sessions are co-facilitated by someone from MNPS and then a university partner. I had the privilege of facilitating that the first 2 summers that we held that. And the first year we partnered with UT Martin, and then more recently with Belmont University. And that partnership with Belmont will continue this summer as well. In 2016, we were able to expand the counties who were able to attend that PD. Rutherford and Cheatham counties are our neighbors, and they're also implementing integrated math. And so we were able to invite teachers from those districts to collaborate with our teachers during that 10-day session. And if you add the number of participants we've had each summer, it has been a total of 358 teachers from those 3 districts. All of the high schools in MNPS have been represented, and most of the middle schools as well. And anytime we undergo a significant change, there are going to be both challenges and successes. So we have a few things here that we wanted to acknowledge and also then talk about how we are addressing them. So considering that integrated math is not as familiar to people, we still find that there's a misunderstanding about the pathway. And so thinking about how can we continue to educate parents and community members and also teachers who are new to Metro so that they understand what the pathway really is. We had, because of the traditional pathway, teachers who had really specialized in specific content areas. They really knew geometry well because they'd been teaching that for 5 or 6 years, or they'd been only teaching Algebra 1, and so they were really strong on that content. So trying to find a way to help all of the teachers understand the content in integrated math, all 3 courses, and how the different strands come together. And honestly, there were a lot of changes that occurred at the same time. When we implemented integrated math, it was the same year that we got new textbooks for mathematics. We also transitioned to Common Core standards that same year, so there was that piece. There was a new test. It was TN Ready, the first year that we would have that. And it was a shift in pedagogy, so all of those things at the same time. It was overwhelming thinking about that and trying to provide support, and so we've been very mindful. We also found limited resources that were aligned to the integrated pathway. And then our last challenge listed there, staffing. Both in schools, because we have teacher turnover. So you train a group of teachers, and then those teachers are no longer in our district, or maybe they shifted to a different preparation and we need to train someone new. But also thinking about central office staff who could provide job-embedded support to teachers, or some structure that we could put in place so that the schools can provide that job-embedded support with numeracy coaches or that sort of thing. That's been a challenge. As far as successes, I did mention already that we've had 358 participants in that summer training, and because it's grant funded, there's a pre-test and a post-test on content knowledge. So we've been able to analyze the data, and we've found that our teachers had statistically significant gains in their mathematical content knowledge because of that professional development. Also, colleges and universities accept integrated math as a legitimate math course credit for those first 3 years of high school, as does the NCAA. And we've been able to build a collaborative community here in the mid-state with the other districts that have come to our training, but also Lead Academy implements integrated math. So I've been in contact with them on numerous occasions, sharing strategies, talking about challenges, and trying to work through those. So at this time, I'm going to call up a teacher. Chris, the first one listed there, he was supposed to be here and was diagnosed with strep throat at 5 p.m. and sent me a text and said, "I'm contagious. I don't think I should come." And I said, "I don't think so either." So I'd like to invite to the podium Kathy Forstoff from Glencliff High School.
Hi.
Hello.
So I've worked at Glencliff High School for the past 4 years, and there I've taught Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Geometry, Integrated Math 1, Integrated Math 2, and now Integrated Math 3 this year. So I've been really able to compare the 2 types of pathways. I feel like we've had a very successful transition to integrated math under Jessica Slayton. I really appreciate all the work. She's put a lot of work into this. And so I really appreciated the professional development. I was able to attend as a participant the first 2 summers, and then the 3rd summer I was a helper or assistant. And I really enjoyed those professional developments, even though they were 10 days long in the middle of the summer. They were so worth it. I got to work with fellow colleagues, which was really helpful because, like you said, a lot of the teachers were very discipline focused on a certain math, like geometry or statistics. And so we were able to learn from each other as we worked through tasks and really dug into the standards to learn more about what our goal is for the coming years. As I compare the 2 pathways, I do very much enjoy integrated math more than the other one, and I'll tell you one example of why I think it's better. So during Algebra 1, I taught quadratic factoring. And then we go back to that in Algebra 2. I was fortunate enough to have the same group of students for Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, the years that I taught it. And I noticed the disconnect there with what they had learned their freshman year and then what they were learning their junior year. Now this year, I actually have the same group of students again that I taught for Integrated Math 2 last year and now Integrated Math 3 this year. Last year, I taught them the quadratic factoring, and this year we are continuing that growth in factoring to polynomials, and I've noticed how much, I guess, more quickly they're able to catch on to it and how much deeper they understand what factoring is since they've been able to naturally progress through it with the integrated maths. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as we wrap up this part, before we transition into the Q&A, I do want to talk about some next steps that we have in place. So we are constantly looking for additional resources to share with teachers as they become available. And that can take the form of instructional tasks that really help show the cohesion of the different strands of mathematics, or working on providing information to middle schools about accelerating students. Thinking about if you take integrated math in 8th grade, you've missed a year of math content. So how do we support those students? How do we plug in the 8th grade standards in different ways and within that course so that they can have a cohesive picture and still succeed in that. We are planning to provide ongoing professional development even after the grant is over. We are outlining a path to calculus and making that. The path to calculus honestly does not change from the integrated pathway and the traditional pathway. In order to take one class a year, you have to start in 8th grade, either of those pathways, in order to reach calculus. Or there's some doubling that could happen if you wait until 9th grade to start the integrated pathway. But we do want to be really clear about what that pathway is and make sure that teachers, students, and parents are aware that there is a route for students to make it through to calculus. And then we also, just this semester, introduced a math help desk. There were some concerns that maybe teachers didn't know who to reach out to, or they weren't sure who to ask questions about standards or about implementation, and so we made that help desk available to them, and that's online so that they can access it. So at this time, we do have an FAQ as the 3rd page of the document, and then I will take any questions that you have also. And I have that.
Thank you. So I'll open the floor up to my colleagues if they have any comments or questions they'd like to offer.
I have just a couple of questions. So this will be the first year that you've had Integrated Math 3.
Yes.
You do still have students that had begun a different pathway, and because now integrated math is offered instead of a trigonometry or pre-calculus class. Say you have a senior that may have failed a math class and needs that 3rd or 4th year, but now that is no longer offered. What happens?
Okay, so integrated math 3 is just the 3rd year, so pre-calculus would be the natural choice after that. That's still a course that's available, so that hasn't been eliminated. The way that we phased in over 3 years, anyone who started Algebra 1 actually completed that whole pathway. So they shouldn't have the phase in and phase out. They shouldn't have that situation.
So the unfortunate thing is that we do still have some students that did because they may have failed the course. So they were either taking the A+ or I guess now the Edgenuity. So would the expectation be that they just continue Edgenuity and then if they can't get that credit, is there another option, or they just need to keep retaking it until they get that last credit? Do you see what I'm asking?
I do. So we did offer it, yes, online for them to make that up. So that. Is there an additional piece with that?
No, and just to be clear, when a student fails the course, they're missing that credit. So if they retake Algebra 2 or Math 3, it counts as the same credit. It's a third-year credit. And we looked at it as if a student is not performing well in Algebra 2, and they're retaking it, they have a chance of not passing it again. Integrated Math 3 may actually stand to give them a better chance to pass.
Oh, so you're saying, so they could end up taking
actually
IM3?
shift.
Okay, okay. You all asked for more resources. Because we're in budget season, is there a kind of a, I don't know, a number that you all are looking for? How could we as a board help? What should our discussions look like around IM?
So this year, we were fortunate to add 3 district lead coaches to my department, but I do not have one that supports high school. I have 2 that support elementary schools and 1 that support middle schools, and they each have between 33 and 35 schools apiece. But we do not have anyone whose specific task is to support the high schools. My coordinator and I tried to split that responsibility as schools reach out to us, but we can't be as proactive reaching out to them, just because that's not our primary job duties, and we have other things to do. So we used to have a district lead coach who supported the transition to integrated math. It was actually me. That was my role before I became the interim math coordinator last year and then transitioned to director of math this year. But that position was never restaffed when I transitioned out of it.
I think another area of support would be around the professional development. And so in the summer, when we offer professional development, there's, the stipends that we have to pay to teachers. If we want to require teachers to take professional development, we need to pay them their hourly rate, which is typically more than the stipend. So that's certainly another area where support, when we think about the budget, is needed.
Yes, so thank you for this. This is a very helpful presentation, because I remember when this was first rolled out, there were a lot of parents who were, just change is hard, and they weren't sure about this. And I did reach out to one in particular who just had nothing but rave reviews now that they have gone through it. They have one older student who's a senior, so staying that traditional path, and then a younger one. And so I think you answered the question that after Integrated Math 3, it's pre-cal, and then would it be calculus after that if they started in the advanced, like 7th grade, doing Integrated Math 1?
Yes, they actually have they have a variety of options for their 4th-year course.
Okay.
So from Integrated Math 3, you can go to AP Statistics, you could go to Bridge Math. We have a new course this year called Applied Mathematical Concepts that's also available, or Pre-Calculus. So they have those options.
And then I remember I tried to find it really quickly, and I found it in one old memo. The integrated math and, of course, results. I know we outperformed the state of Tennessee. Was that correct? Or
it was that the integrated math students across the state of Tennessee outperformed in the geometry standards, but they were comparable in both the integrated and traditional pathway on the algebraic and statistical standards.
So since we still don't have like the dashboard for like our schools, are we predicting that kids are going to be doing better on the EOC this year than last year? Or do we have benchmarks and goals around the academic achievement from integrated math?
So, of course, that is our hope, right? That students will do better on this. This is the first year that Integrated Math 3 has actually been implemented, and so we're still in that learning process. But we don't really have that sort of data. We don't have MAP at the high school level, and so at elementary and middle school, they have those benchmarks that they can look at. Our benchmarks that we implement in high school are performance tasks, and so there's such a small portion of the standards, we can't really use those as predictive measures for the end of course.
But should their grades be correlating with how you anticipate that they would score on the end of course? Like if you've got a lot of kids with A's or B's, are we looking at it that way?
In theory, yes, I think that's what we would hope for, and trying to work with teachers so that the grades do reflect the understanding of the students, so that then those would be a good indication of how students will do on an end.
That would be interesting to see, just, since you don't have the map, are there academic grades, like on the report card, does that end up becoming a predictor or at least correlating alongside their ESE results? So thank you.
Just to add, I think that is a good point. It's something we will take away and look towards, because we should have some type of measures, particularly in a critical subject area as math, to be measuring against, so we can know if we're on path or not. And if not, what are we doing? And I will say we have had a number of math shortages at the secondary level, which I think will pose a challenge for us, because there are a lot more than what we would have liked to see this year. But we have been talking about more stronger formative predictive measures at the high school level, and we are looking to see if there's anything that can be done as we look in the budget season. It might be difficult in this budget cycle, but we know it's a shortage area.
Thank you. Jessica, this has been a great presentation. Thank you for this information. I love the idea of integration, because it helps our kids work in the real world, and it's not such a jump then when they graduate. Out of the 358 participants that you had this summer, were there a ballpark figure of others that wanted the training that didn't get it because of lack of space or lack of resources?
Over the 3 summers, we have not had to close anyone out for space reasons. There were some people who wanted to attend, but their summer schedules, it just didn't match. Because it is 10 days, sometimes it's hard to find those 10 days that would work. And because we had the pre and post test data, the teachers actually had to attend all 10 days, or that data is not valid. So there were some scheduling challenges that way, but we did have room, and we will be able to accommodate 75 teachers this summer as well for a shortened version of the Summer Institute.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
Yes, we did. Oh, sorry. We did offer it both in June and July to try to accommodate each summer. It was offered twice to try to accommodate schedules the best that we could. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Great presentation. Thank you, Jessica. Dr. Joseph?
Yeah, just a couple quick more comments. Do we know how many districts in the state are implementing integrated math?
I reached out to Melissa Hahn at the Department of Ed, and she said that there are 15 counties in the state that are implementing integrated math.
And how many in Middle Tennessee? Do we know?
In our core region, there are just 3. It's Rutherford, Cheatham, and then Metro.
Okay, and then with the as we're thinking about budgeting and so forth, I mean, every time we hire staff, there's an exorbitant cost, because not only is this the staff salary, you have benefits and things of that nature. Are there opportunities to be creative or collaborate with some of our universities and university professors to be able to provide supports where maybe they took on a part-time consultation basis to come in and provide direct math supports or things, versus hiring a person and having them take on 40 or 50 schools, as we're thinking about budget options, because I know our board will be thinking about how we do those things, and we've got to think about efficiencies. But if it doesn't work, you can say, yeah, that sounds good, but no, not going to work out. And just as we're thinking about the full possibility of options as we look at the support piece.
I have been in discussion with a professor at Vanderbilt. She applied for a grant that we discussed that is specifically for high school math pedagogy and using classroom video for a teacher to be reflective and improve their practice. So that's something that we haven't heard back yet about whether that grant was accepted, but that would be something specific that we would be engaging in to help with support for the high school as well.
The last question was, what's the potential is Khan Academy at all feasible with this type of curriculum, both for teacher content or student preparation? Because one of the things we've talked about is how can we engage technology to help us with math, as we talked about earlier in a different meeting. helping teachers have a profound understanding of mathematics is essential, particularly when you're going to an integrated approach, because, again, it's not a matter of just teaching one specific content. Now they need to understand at a deep level multiple concepts, and I think the example you gave earlier illustrated that there are 3 or 4 different ways to get to that answer, and a teacher should be able to articulate those 3 or 4 different ways versus a linear one-way procedural approach.
I think moving forward, it's really important for us to explore, and I actually added that to my to-do list of exploring some options that would be virtual, whether that's virtual collaboration sessions or, like you mentioned, Khan Academy. It does have some information that we could utilize to help teachers build content knowledge if they've been able to attend professional development or if they just need a refresher on something. So I guess I should have added that to the next steps in thinking about how we can provide some support where they don't necessarily have to come out of the building, because we do know that subs can be a challenge also, but they can provide some embedded or virtual support for them.
I want to also
Yes.
add to Ms. Bugg's question too about budget, and then also Dr. Joseph's point about staffing. Jessica worked closely with the State Department to make sure that the 10-day training actually fulfilled the requirements of the employment standard. So any teacher who is certified up to grade 8 in mathematics can also then teach integrated math 1 at the high school level. So we could think creatively about how to structure positions that serve maybe both middle school and high school, but allows that teacher who may be working at a middle school and goes through the 10-day training can actually be qualified. It's not an endorsement or doesn't change the teacher license, but it actually provides what the state calls a standard employment standard, and they can actually teach up integrated math at the high school level. So that's another configuration that we can look to be flexible with because of what we've done with the State Department.
And if I could take an opportunity to just celebrate this administration and this team, I recently was able to work with 2 of the professors that were hired through you all's work at one of our high schools that did not have 2 math teachers. So Whites Creek started off with 5 math classes and only had 2 math teachers, and through you all's work and working with the state and asking for that, I don't know if it's an endorsement or asking for them to be certified, but we're able to have college level professors teach at the high school level, and it's been very, very helpful. Partly because we now just have bodies, but these bodies are, very knowledgeable with content. So thank you for that, all of you. But I do want to kind of know, is there an update with that? How many schools have you all been able to tap, or how many professors have you been able to tap? Are we seeing some increase in that those STEM teacher numbers? And is there anything we can do to kind of help advocate for you all also? Because there's something else that we can work on. Okay.
I don't know if you all heard that, but the last count, there were 6, but possibly 11.
Is there anything that we as a board can be doing to support that work?
Passing the word.
So passing the word to professors?
To professors,
Okay.
yes. Mhm.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Very last question. Who are the, do you know who the national experts with this integrated math are? Like who, are there groups, universities, anyone local that really understands this? Because it was a seismic shift that we went through, and I know that whenever you have seismic shifts in school systems, I mean, teachers have challenge, parents have challenge, students have challenge, and as we think about just long-term supports, I mean, have we identified who those individuals are in terms of the training, particularly with integrated math, or just this work in general?
We have been looking, there are a few states that are completely integrated and have their resources that are available open source. So we've been pouring through that information. Utah is one of those. So we've been using a lot of their materials and trying to bolster the professional development by using those. They, of course, are not providing that specific professional development, but using their materials. Originally, when we were doing the consultation to decide to transition, we worked with Peg Cagle out of Vanderbilt, and she actually was on the board, maybe still on the board for the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, and provided quite a bit of guidance. I don't think she's still local, to my understanding. I think she moved out west.
And I think that both Jessica and I are actually part of a national network of leaders. So when she talks about Peg Cagle and a lot of the folks at the University of Pittsburgh, she mentioned Utah because in 2010, Utah as a state was early adopters in implementing Common Core, and they chose specifically the integrated pathway for their entire state. And they got together with teachers, their state department, and universities and developed an entire curriculum. And I have spoken with Diane Sudworth from there. She said, David, whatever we can do to help, we'll be glad to do so. Ellen Whitesides is, she's the behind-the-scenes expert person on the Illustrated Mathematics site. She's somebody that we talk to regularly, and they're implementing a 6-8 curriculum. This year, their pilot, they've moved away from just performance tasks to actually developing curriculum, and we're looking at possibly piloting that next year, and then I think they'll venture up into the high school realm. SAP that I've talked to, and we do some work with them in our elementary literacy work. The good folks there have talked to me, and they say they both support these pathways, and we can call on them at any time. So we definitely have folks in our networks that we have worked with in the past and continue to work with that we can call on for their expertise and guidance and support at any time.
Thank you, guys. No more questions? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We will move on.
Okay, thank you. So we are very proud of the work that we have been doing with our unions. I think Brad Rayson from SEIU and Eric Huth from MNEA have been great partners with us as we've been on this journey to try to improve teaching and learning within the district and to try to ensure that we are being respectful and professional and working as one unit to ensure that all students get excellence by design every day in every building, and that all staff feel a sense of respect and values. To that end, when we began 18 months ago, the board did charge us with beginning to collaborate more intentionally and effectively with our unions, and we are proud tonight to give you an update on the progress of that work. Collaboration, it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to actually sit down and do it, and collaboration does take time. So we thank you for your patience and as we have worked on this journey, and it's just the beginning. I mean, we've taken one step. It's not an end-all, a be-all. We've just simply taken one step, and we hope to, as we move into the next year and future years, continue with that collaboration and to continue to make progress and make MNPS a place where staff feel valued, appreciated, and it's not just lip service, that we're moving towards it in a very dynamic environment. Having said that, as a board, you've received copies of 3 memoranda of understanding this evening, one from SEIU, one from the United Steelworkers, and one with MNEA. For SEIU and the United Steelworkers, they have just worked closely with Deborah Story and Human Resources and a team to come up with language that's just, again, an entry point for us to begin to demonstrate our commitments. And with MNEA, we had a much more elaborate process that was, and we followed that the procedures of the collaborative conferencing process. And again, we greatly appreciate MNEA's patience as we have spent time collaborating, communicating, and I thank all of the people that were a part of the collaborative conferencing process because there were many people, both on the administration side, both on the teachers' side, really coming together and having multiple hours of in-depth discussions to get us to this point. So tonight, the SEIU and the United Steelworkers memorandums of understanding are completed. Those contracts, by definition, do not need board signature. on those. So we have those completed, and you have them for your review. But with MNEAs, it does require board action. So for MNEA, tonight we are going to just present what's in the MOUs in general, but specifically for MNEA, it's going to be important that the conversation moves from just what we present tonight to your budgeting committee, and that you review it closely and you make determinations on what is inside of them. Because for MNEA in particular, there are some budget implications, and as we started the process in depth tonight, and you saw, there are lots of priorities, and we have communicated that our employees are one of our number one priorities, but it's one of many priorities that we need to consider as we look at our long-term work. So we will present the details of the proposed agreements tonight, and we will answer any questions that you may have. Ultimately, it will be up to you to approve the proposal that we have with MNEA, and there may be an opportunity, or there may be a need for us to go back and to the drawing board as we look at the full landscape and context. But we are committed to the continued collaboration and dialogue because, again, we truly value our teachers and we value everything that they're doing, and we're trying to see how we continue to make progress in a very dynamic political and fiscal environment. So tonight we're not asking for the vote on the MNEA contract. We're just going to present the details. Next steps will be we will bring it back to our budget committee to go in more depth. We'll be able to, now that you have the contracts, you'll be able to look at them in detail, send questions. We'll make sure those questions are clarified for you. What we feel really good about, though, is a number of the agreements that we did come up to that didn't have the long-term fiscal implications, and Ms. Story will walk us through many of those. So at this time, I will turn it over to Ms. Story for us to review.
I'm sorry, can I just ask one question about the other
Sure.
ones? I'm sorry, I just had one question about the SEIU and steelworkers that they're already signed and completed. So something that just jumped out at me was in the Article 1, where we are to provide a database of all eligible workers in the departments that contain a lot of personal information, including their salary. Did that also include addresses, and how will that be used?
I will ask Ms. Harkey to maybe
We will abide by the Open Records Act, and any information that is excluded from open records will be excluded from that database that's provided.
Is that directory information as well, or do you know?
Well, it would not include home addresses, home phone numbers, or cell phone numbers. It can include salary, because that's the open records. It could also include age, birth dates. Mm-hmm.
Let me just say real quick, the directory information is really when we're talking about student information, since these are employee data, personnel records, that's why we're really talking about what's allowable or what's actually required under the Open Records Act.
But how will it be used, do you know?
Well, we have Brad Rayson is here. I think Brad is still here. Oh, there he is. Do you want to discuss how that information will be used? Mm-hmm.
Well, since we represent all of the support staff, we'll use that to identify who is actually an employee, what school they work at, and what their classifications are. So we don't get individual home addresses or phone numbers, except for our members who join independently and fill out an application that has that information.
And do you know what percent of eligible employees are members?
I don't have that off the top of my head now.
Is that something we can get for both of them? Okay, thank you.
Well, many of the items in the MNEA MOU are things that are part of our employee handbook, which was really good that we had agreement on that. We do have, I believe for the first time, a recommendation for an attendance policy. That is something that we felt has been needed in the district, and that's outlined here in the MOU. There's also, as part of this MOU, some guidelines around, I don't want to say it's, I should have highlighted these. It's around, okay, we talked about the exception pay, but it's those training days, professional development days, that they should consist of an hour lunch and 3 hours of planning. So now that's, would be in writing, that our principals would have to abide by that once approved. There's also a provision for dress for teachers. It states here, all teachers are expected to dress in a professional manner that inspires respect and serves as a role model for students. It is recognized that the attire must also be appropriate for the teacher's assignment, the needs of the student, and the physical needs of the staff member. That's a dress code for our teachers. I'm trying to think something else that maybe we might want to outline. I'm going to ask Ms. Bertiller if she would come up, because there may be some things, she's part of the panel for the professional team, and there may be some things that
Sure.
that stand out for her.
Sure. Mr. Huth did talk about, like you said, the exemption pay and also the volunteer workshops and training, moving from the $85 to the rate of pay. But one thing that was not mentioned that does have a significant financial implication that I think the board should consider were holidays. Specifically, it was requested that Veterans Day be added for both 12 and 1 month employees, and that would be a multi-million-dollar venture that we want to make sure the board is aware of. If we change from how we have been doing it historically, just to include that there.
Okay, I'm sorry, Dr. Joseph, I didn't know you want, I could have gone over the fiscal items first, but I thought you wanted me to go over some more changes.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, you're fine.
Good,
Yeah, money's always on my mind. So
okay, okay.
I think that Eric had mentioned those items that had financial implications. Just the fact that we were trying to recognize some of the time that they spend from PD and different things like that. But again, as Dr. Joseph said, we may have to go back and look at some of those things depending on what we have the finance to do. So you've pretty much hit on the main items.
Other items here that kind of stand out as noteworthy?
I don't think so. Just the fact that we're going to have this MOU and have just a written document for teachers as a guideline, which I think is going to be good. Again, I think this is a great step in improving the culture and the climate so that they'll know where to go to for what.
And again, a lot of the things in here are already reflected in the handbook. And so it just makes it more formalized. And where there have been concerns about planning time for teachers, that's covered here as well.
Board members, I know you have a draft of the language. If there was anything that you'd like Ms. Story and Mrs. Portillo to address at this time that the committee discussed, I'm sure they're happy to give you some more background on that. But again, we're not asking for a vote tonight. It's just for first reading and public view.
Would it be possible to have, just like a comparison, because you're referring back to the handbook, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of additional items, but if there would be something that you would deem as more significant as a change or an addition to the handbook, if there's even a way to have this document and just have those things highlighted.
Sure.
And resent to us, so then that way we're not trying to pick apart something that's been in the handbook and all good and agreed upon.
We'd be happy to.
And we're going to have the fiscal listing as well.
We'd be happy to do that. We'll get that to you right away. Okay.
Are there any areas of contention, or is this pretty much agreed upon by administration and MNEA and various unions?
I know that the management and the members of MNEA, they all collaborated to get to this point. So if there were any contention or contentious points, we sort of kind of addressed that and came to a mutual agreement. So the only area that there was any contention around was requiring that we have an ALJ hearing instead of a appointed impartial hearing officer. And then we were able to come to agreement around that as well. So we kept it as stated in the law.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments or questions?
On the 3 hours of planning, and this may be something that will come highlighted, is are there teachers who already don't have this? Okay. So if that.
That's the common
Right.
complaint that we
Well,
hear.
yeah, but is it at a tier? Is it a certain tier level? Or is it just?
I think what's happening is individual principals have been exercising what they believe teachers should and should not do, and there's been inconsistency. So our goal is to make sure that it's consistent across, across tier level, and all principals abide by, and know what the expectation of the district is for that.
What's the next step, Dr. Joseph?
Sure. So the next step will be that we will bring the specific fiscal analysis to the budget committee. So as we're looking over the budget implications in its entirety, we can talk. So again, we began the conversation today looking at some of the long-term budget implications, and we didn't get deep into some of the areas where we're spending because we don't produce, we don't self-fund ourselves. It is essential, I believe, that we share the MOU with the council, along with the mayor's office, because what MNEA is asking for, which I think is the right thing to ask for, as well as SEIU and steelworkers, are more long-term commitments, so we can have consistency and expectation. To do that, we need to collaborate with people that actually fund us. And I think we have to look at our long-term fiscal state. And as we have a strategic plan right now, one of the things that we're working on is actually costing out what that strategic plan will cost. And these costs are a part of the overall plan. So we need to collaborate with our council and the mayor's office to continue to look at the long-term plan. I mean, the good news is, it's the work we've been doing. The mayor asked us last year to submit a multi-year budget, which we did. But again, there's a difference between the request and what we may receive, and we want to make sure that if we make a commitment, we know all the implications, because by having it in contract, we'll be prioritizing it versus other things. And we just want to make sure that there's that balance of supporting our employees as well as supporting the needs of students and the needs of our parents. So, very complex, but we're committed to the collaboration and the continued work. It's going to take this entire city to rally around funding education to achieve the ultimate goals that we want. But the next step will be taking it to the budget committee for further conversation, so we can come back once we are clear on what it is we want to commit to, or where we may have to go back and have conversations. Whatever we do, I think we should be committed to the open communication and collaboration. And if there are challenges, we need to go back to MNEA, bring the collaborative group back together to have them come to some resolution so we can close on this. Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sharon.
Okay, we will move on to board chair report. I do have a very small one. If I can find it. Nashville Forward Hub study visits will be held this year on Tuesday, March the 6th at most of our zoned MNPS high schools. I would encourage all of my colleagues to attend this tour in the high schools that are in their districts. Ms. Bobo put a schedule at your table tonight, so please consider attending the tour. The high schools that are participating this year are Pearl Cone, Overton, McGavock, Stratford, Hillwood, Whites Creek, Antioch and Cane Ridge, Maplewood, and Hunters Lane. And some of these schools are hosting both a morning and an afternoon session, so you can go to whichever one works best for your schedule. So please consider that. And we will move on to announcements. Ms. Buggs.
Again, Envision Casey has already opened at least one set of housing units. Envision Napier is set to break ground within the year. Envision Edge Hill is in its beginning stages. If you would like to be involved, you are more than welcome to be involved in all three Envision MDHA restorations and renovations. Please feel free to reach out to me, cbugs@mnps.org, or to Miss Janet King with MDHA. Also, this may very well, hopefully this will be my last meeting before my son arrives, because we got 3 weeks and there's no more room in there. So just pray for us, please.
I don't have anything.
Ms. Pierce. Oh, Ms. Heather.
Okay, the Department of Exceptional Ed is always looking to cultivate more work-based opportunities and learning opportunities for MNPS students with disabilities. If anyone has any business contacts, please reach out to Catherine Deitzer in the Department of Exceptional Ed at catherine.deitzer@mnps.org. Thank you.
Thank you. I attended the Lytton Community Breakfast this morning. We had great presentations by our students and our teachers. They talked about their literacy clubs and a book club called RAPS. They talked about the science and art and music. We had great music presentations, and I hope maybe we can have them at an upcoming board meeting. So thank you to the Lytton Middle School Parent-Teacher Association for sponsoring the event. The Urban League of Middle Tennessee is sponsoring 2 ACT boot camps twice a semester for Hunters Lane High School. And I see TJ Williams. What did I say? Oh, thank you, Maplewood. You got me, girl. And our own TJ Williams is the coordinator of the boot camps, and she normally has 35 to 50 students participate in each of the groups. And this is all in order to raise the scores for ACT. Thanks, TJ, for your work. And also thanks to the Urban League of Middle Tennessee. We have some, speaking of not Hunters Lane, but Maplewood, we have some impressive data at Maplewood High School. The college zone opened in 2013, and it's my understanding that that is financed by Martha O'Brien. And they finance, it costs $1,000 per student, and there are like 1,291 students at Maplewood have participated in the college zone during that time frame. They serve about 400 students per year and 70 per day on average. And this is approximately 45% of the student population. The number of college zone participants scoring on the ACT at 19 or higher has increased by 145% over this time period. And the number of college zone participants scoring at a 21 or higher has increased by 225%. Maplewood's average ACT score has increased at a rate 1.2 times that of the zoned high schools in the district. Based off the Tennessee Department of Education data, Maplewood average ACT score has increased 1.9% from 15.4 to 15.7. During that same time frame, MNPS average for the zoned high school has increased 0.64%. 98.8 of college zone seniors have graduated, and this is 634 out of 642. In terms of growth of percentages, at Maplewood graduation rate has increased by a rate of 2 times that of zoned high schools in the district. Based off the Tennessee Department of Education data, Maplewood graduation rate has increased from 68.4 to 76%. That's an 11% increase. Wow. Yeah. Whereas the average MNPS-owned high school has increased at the rate of 5.4%. College attendance rates at the zoned college zone graduates at Maplewood has a 74.9, and they have received over $21.6 million in grants and scholarships for college. I think this is phenomenal data. Way to go, Maplewood. TJ, thank you for being here tonight. And don't forget about the grocery cart full of food this Saturday, also at Maplewood. And I want to bring tonight a notice of a motion on February 27th. I'll bring a resolution in reference to the legislation to assign letter grades to Tennessee Public Schools. Thank you.
Ms. Rhodes. Dr. Gentry. Okay, I have just a couple. Tomorrow morning, I will be at McGavick High School at 7:15 a.m. for their professional skills fair for freshmen. And this year, I'm working with my friend Rashad Fredrukin on a new program that he has developed. And this is always an energizing day, even though it's a very early day. TSBA Day on the Hill was today, Tuesday, February 13th. The day kicked off with a breakfast this morning at 7 a.m. at the downtown Doubletree Hotel. And this year, I had the honor of serving on the TSBA Board of Directors, and we had those meetings yesterday and a class meeting yesterday afternoon. It was a very full day. And thank you also to Principal Sonia Stewart and my colleague, Ms. Buggs and Allison MacArthur for the wonderful Community Achieves presentation at Pearl-Cohn a couple weeks ago. It was a wonderful morning spent. For Dr. Stewart, it's not a program, it's embedded in the entire school, and she makes it work for those students. So, Ms. Buggs?
Be there no further business, this meeting is adjourned.
Good news.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.org.